All right, folks, I think I should be live, but I'm going to wait for you folks to confirm on chat as always. Okay, on my computer looks like I'm live. Folks, please confirm on chat if you can hear me and see me all right. Are we clear? Okay, great. So 2am team is confirmed. Thank you, Pranav. What about others, folks? The audience, people who are listening, great. Vaibhav, great to see you here. Thank you for confirming. Others as well. I'll give you a shout out if you confirm. Okay. All right. Priyansh, SJ, fantastic. Thank you for confirming. Mahesh, great. Awesome. Awesome, folks. So, all right, let's get started. I think we have lots to cover. As always, it's going to be a solid 2-hour session. Okay. Try and stay till the end. We're going to discuss two passages from CAT 22 slot 1 in detail. Okay. And today's passages, let me tell you right in the beginning, they're not easy. Okay, these are CAT 22 passages, right? Especially the first one, technology, is not an easy passage, and it's okay. It's okay. I mean, these are real passages. You have to get used to them, right? So I'll help you out. I'll give you the strategy to solve them. But the reason I'm telling you this upfront is persist. Okay, fight the urge to give up on this passage, right? It's important that you get used to these passages because one or two of these passages or similar passages, similar complexity levels can appear in your exam as well. All right. Okay, fantastic. Now, before we begin, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself for the new viewers. My name is Jatin. I'm the head of verbal ability and reading comprehension and student care at 2IIM. So what that means is I take care of the overall content development and training delivery of VRC at 2IIM. Okay. In my previous life, about 2 years ago, I was a part of the corporate world. I was there for about 18 plus years in different companies, different roles. And then I switched to teaching and teaching English because that's what I'm passionate about. All right, I'm going to keep this quick. Okay, now before we start with the passage, just a quick note. Of course, this doesn't apply to the 2IIM students. You folks are already a part of 2IIM, so great job on that. But folks who are thinking, right, who are thinking of joining 2IIM or who are thinking of joining a course for their CAT prep, just know that we're running a discount window, 4,000 rupee off on our full 23 and 24 courses. Okay, so whether it's live course or self-paced, you can get a flat 4,000 off, and this offer is valid till 12th June, which is Monday. Okay, so if you're considering joining courses, you can contact us on that number or email us at info@2im.com, arrange for a free demo session, talk to our academic counselors, and then decide. All right, fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so a couple of you are saying, Sridhar is saying, Sai is saying, first one is really easy to give up. And tech passage, yes, it is complicated. Okay, the technology passage was arguably the most complicated passage in CAT 22 out of all the slots. Okay, so it is anyway CAT 22, CAT passages are complex. This was in that ranking also, this was at the top. Okay, so don't worry about it. I'll help you out. All right. Okay, fantastic. Let's get started. Now, folks, the way VRC Blitzkrieg works is I discuss past CAT passages every week. We are still on slot 1. We will complete slot 1 RCs today. And then next week, hopefully, we'll start with slot 2, then slot 3 RCs, then para jumbles, para summary, and para completion. Okay, so these sessions will go on for quite some time. Okay, now to make the best of use of this session, you should always read the passages in advance. Okay, read the passages in advance and then we solve the questions together because we have limited time. I will give you time today to read the passage, but I can only give you limited time. So next time, read the passages. You'll find the passages in the YouTube description. Okay, so go to the description of this video. You will find a link. Pranav from my team will post it on chat as well. Click on that link and read the technology passage. Okay, do it right now. Click on the link from the YouTube description, open that document, read the passage titled technology. The title does not mean anything. Just read only that passage. Once you're done reading, extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences and type it on chat. Or simply type done. Okay, so that I know you're done with the passage and then I can start discussing the questions. Go for it, people. You will find it in the YouTube description, or Pranav will ping the link as well on chat. Okay, or I can actually also send it. Yeah, there you go. The passages are there. Read the first passage, title technology. All right. Extract the main idea. Try to extract whatever you can extract, or just type done and we'll get started. Don't read it from the slide, it's incomplete. Read it from the document. Okay, I can see a few dones. We'll give others a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Okay. Next time, please read the passages in advance and come prepared. Okay, I'm going to give you folks 1 more minute. As I said, in the interest of time, I can only give you limited time. This passage would definitely take longer than that, okay, to understand. But yeah, I can give you 1 more minute, and then we'll start discussing it. So I'm definitely going to discuss this passage first before going to the questions because it's a complicated one. Okay, so and I'll hopefully you'll get some tips and tricks on how to tackle complex passages. Okay, let's start discussing this. All right. Now, typically, what I do is in these sessions, I don't discuss the passage up front. I discuss the questions first because sometimes when I'm discussing the passage, I end up giving away the answers. Okay. But in this case, I'm going to explain the passage because it's complex. Right. Now, as I said, this was definitely the most complex passage in slot 1 and arguably the most complex passage in CAT 22. Okay. A lot of people in the exam left this passage, and that's fine. That happens, right? Very few people attempt all 4 passages and verbal ability questions. Okay, if you do a good job with 3 passages and a good job with verbal ability, you can achieve 95 plus. You can achieve even 97 plus with that. Okay, so a lot of people left this passage because it was complex and esoteric in nature. But let's talk about it. Okay, now one tip that I'll give you with complex passages is, if it's a very complex passage and your head is spinning when you're reading it, okay, and if you still decide to attempt it, with complex passages, be as broad as possible. See, with every passage, you have to extract the main idea. I always say that. Okay, you have to read the passage first, you have to extract the main point from each paragraph, and at the end of the passage, you have to extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences. You should do this for every passage before you go to the questions. In case of complex passages, derive a broad main idea. Okay, don't worry about details. Don't fixate on details. Don't try to understand each and everything. You will not be able to understand each and everything. Extract a main idea. It's okay if it's a broad main idea. You should just be on the same page as the author. It can't be completely wrong, but a broad main idea is fine. And then you go to the questions. Attempt the questions that are manageable. Okay, so you'll see how when I read this passage, I'm also quite broad with it. Don't attempt to understand each and everything. That's not going to happen. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Ankita, you can send your main idea. I'll comment on it later. Let's discuss this. What does it say? And we'll have to go really slow because it's a complex passage. Critical theory of technology is a political theory of modernity with a normative dimension. It starts with a complex line. Okay. It belongs to a tradition extending from Marx to Foucault and Habermas, according to which advances in the formal claims of human rights take center stage, while in the background, centralization of ever more powerful public institutions and private organizations imposes an authoritarian social order. Complex paragraph to begin with. Be as broad as possible. What is this paragraph talking about? It's definitely talking about a critical theory of technology. A theory of technology. And at any point of time when it's a critical theory, try to understand what it means is, if it's a critical theory, this theory will evaluate technology critically. This theory will evaluate technology deeply. It will analyze technology deeply. That's what a critical theory is. Any critical theory will attempt to evaluate a certain aspect or a concept deeply. That's what critical theory of technology is doing. Okay? Now, it says it belongs to a tradition in which advances in the formal claims of human rights take center stage. This is a positive thing, isn't it? Formal claims of human rights take center stage. So, human rights is the focus here. But in the background, you have centralization of ever more powerful public institutions and private organizations imposes an authoritarian social order. So it's a contradiction, isn't it? In the center stage, you have human rights. Okay, so that means propagating human rights, focuses on the human rights. But in the background, what do we have? What is the reality? That powerful public institutions and private organizations are imposing an authoritarian social order, which is against human rights. Anything which is authoritarian is against human rights. Okay, so here you have public, private, and you have authority. My writing is horrible, just ignore that. But that's what the paragraph is saying. This is what critical theory of technology does. Okay, and what is it analyzing? What is the critical theory of analyzing, or what is the focus? The focus is on the human rights in the foreground, but in the background you have institutions that are imposing an authoritarian social order. Okay, so it's kind of a contradiction, it's a paradox. All right, okay, let's continue. Marx attributed this trajectory to the capitalist rationalization of production. This is also complicated. Okay, capitalist rationalization of production. Today it marks many institutions besides the factory and every modern political system, including so-called socialist systems. Now connect the dots. When it says today it marks many institutions, what are we talking about? We are talking about this. How in the center you have human rights, how in the foreground you have human rights, but in the background you have these institutions imposing an authoritarian social order. That is the concept we are talking about. So it refers to that. Today this concept marks many institutions besides the factory and every modern political system, including socialist systems. And it's not a good thing because human rights in the front, but background there's something else. Okay, this trajectory arose. Now, where did this come from? This trajectory arose from the problems of command over a disempowered and de-skilled labor force. But everywhere that masses are organized, whether it be Foucault's prisons or Habermas's public sphere, the same pattern prevails. So this pattern is everywhere. Right? And where did it come from? It came from the problems of command over a disempowered and de-skilled labor force. Institutions trying to command labor, and this labor is disempowered. They don't have power. They're de-skilled. So from these problems, this concept came about, and it's everywhere, is what the author is saying. Okay, technological design and development is shaped by this pattern as the material base of a distinctive social order. Remember, we are talking about technology. We're talking about critical theory of technology. So now the author is connecting dots. Technological design and development is shaped by this pattern. Again, this pattern. Okay, as the material base of a distinctive social order. Marcus would later point to a project as the basis of what he called rather confusingly technological rationality. Releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. Now, this is a very esoteric detail. Don't attempt to understand everything here. It's very complicated. But what are we talking about in this paragraph? We'll come back to this if there's a question. And there is a question around it, unfortunately. So we'll come back to it. But what is the main point of this paragraph? Think about it. The main point of this paragraph is that this concept, the center and the background, okay, is everywhere. And it came from commanding a disempowered and de-skilled labor force. And then the author connects the dots by saying that technological design and development is shaped by this pattern. So whenever there is technological design and development, this pattern shapes the design and development of technology. So it's connected to technological development. Okay, let's continue. In accordance with this general line of thought, critical theory of technology regards technologies as an environment rather than as a collection of tools. Now, is the main idea emerging? Ask yourself. is the main idea in emerging. Isn't this paragraph or RC, sorry, not a paragraph, isn't this RC talking about the critical theory of technology? And it talks about what is this critical theory. So now that's coming up. Critical theory of technology regards technology as an environment rather than as a collection of tools. Okay, we live today with and even within technologies that determine our way of life. We're heavily dependent on technologies, isn't it? We live today and even within technologies. So it's an environment. We live within an environment. So basically the author is trying to say technology is everywhere. Okay, and it determines our way of life. Along with the constant pressures to build centers of power, many other social values and meanings are inscribed in technological design. Remember, we were talking about centers of power, isn't it? In the background, you have centers of power imposing an authoritarian order. But in the front, you have human rights. So it says, along with the constant pressures to build centers of power, pressures on technology, many other social values and meanings are inscribed in technological design. So technology shapes our way of life. That's what the author is saying. Okay? A hermeneutics of technology must make explicit the meanings implicit in the devices we use and the rituals they script. Now, this is a very complicated word. This simply means interpretation. Hermeneutics means a theory of interpretation. Take it as interpretation. So an interpretation of technology must make explicit the meanings implicit in the devices we use and the rituals they script. Social histories of technologies such as the bicycle, artificial lighting, or firearms have made important contributions to this type of analysis. Critical theory of technology attempts to build a methodological approach on the lessons of these histories. So critical theory of technology is basically giving you an interpretation of technology. That it is an environment and we live in that environment. It determines our way of life. So along with constant pressures to build centers of power, it also determines social values. So it really impacts our life. Okay, it's an environment that we live in. Okay, let's continue. Just stay with me. I know it's complicated. Stay with me. I'll answer your questions later. As an environment, technology shaped their inhabitants. Now the author is continuing on that. The author has already told you that technology is an environment. Technology shape their inhabitants. That means us. In this respect, they are comparable to laws and customs. Each of these institutions can be said to represent those who live under their sway through privileging certain dimensions of the human nature. Laws of property represent the interest in ownership and control. So the author is comparing technology with laws and customs. Remember, the author has already told you that technology is an environment. So in that respect, the author is comparing technology with laws and customs. Laws of property represent the interest in ownership and control. Customs such as parental authority represent the interest of childhood in safety and growth. Similarly, automobile, which is a technology, represents its users insofar as they are interested in mobility. Interests such as these constitute the version of human nature sanctioned by society. So this paragraph compares technology with laws and customs. And what part of technology? That technology is an environment. And then it gives you example. Laws of property represent interest in ownership and control, obviously. Then parental authority, which is a custom. Similarly, an automobile represents an interest in mobility. Okay, and it also says interests such as these constitute the version of human nature sanctioned by society. So it shapes human nature. All right, try to be as broad as possible. Let's continue. This notion of representation, which notion of representation? The human nature one. This notion of representation does not imply an eternal human nature. The concept of nature as non-identity in the Frankfurt School suggests an alternative. So it's not eternal, it's not permanent. On these terms, nature is what lies at the limit of history, at the point at which society loses the capacity to imprison meanings on things and control them effectively. It's a complex paragraph. Okay, if you don't understand it, it's fine. Just remember the main idea, which is critical theory of technology. and whatever we've understood so far. The reference here is, of course, not to the nature of natural science, but to the lived nature in which we find ourselves and which we are. This nature reveals itself as that which cannot be totally encompassed by the machinery of society. For the Frankfurt School, human nature in all its transcending force emerges out of a historical context. As this context is depicted in illicit joys, struggles and pathologies, we can perhaps admit a less romantic conception in which those dimensions of human nature recognized by society are also granted theoretical legitimacy. This is a very, very complex paragraph. Okay, so let's try to attempt these questions. Let's see if it's possible. Okay, what have we understood so far? We've so far understood, if I were to tell you the main idea, a very, very broad main idea. We are talking about the critical theory of technology. Now, what does the critical theory of technology say? Okay, it says that technology is an environment that we live within, and it shapes human nature. Right? Very important point of this RC. There's also another important point about that background and the first paragraph. The background is control. Okay, centers of power. In the foreground, it is human rights. And this is the basis of technology. Okay, so if you're able to extract these broad points as of now, okay, let's do that and let's see how many questions are we able to solve. Now, typically what happens is complex paragraphs have manageable questions or have simpler questions, but that is not the case with this RC. The questions are also fairly complex, but let's try to understand the questions that we can solve. Okay, is this broad idea making sense, folks? Tell me in chat. I know I've spoken a lot, but I just wanted to explain this passage. Does this broad main idea about critical theory of technology, tech being an environment, shaping human nature, does it make sense? I'll wait for your responses. Okay, Ankita is saying it talks about the authoritarian social order brought about technology. It has created a divide in class and society. It has similar influences and laws and customs of society. Ankita, you're on the right track. Definitely on the right track. What about others? Is this making sense? Okay, okay, all right. So you saw that, right? I was very broad with this passage. We've actually gone ahead and not really understood the last para also. Okay, if there's a question, we'll come back to it. But the main idea is definitely about critical theory of technology. Tech is an environment. It's like laws and customs. It shapes human nature. It shapes society. The background, foreground aspect. Those are the broader main points coming out of this RC. Okay, all right, fantastic. Let's now solve the questions. Okay, now I'm showing you question 1. I'll run a poll. Okay, with every passage with the questions, you should go back to specific portions, reread those specific portions and answer the questions. In these questions, you will have to go back. Okay, so go back to specific questions. Go back to specific portions, reread them and answer the questions. Take your time. I'll give you extra time for this. I'll run the poll now. Okay, keep answering the poll, people. Take your time. Abhay is saying, I think he wants to say about the uses of technology in this generation. Usage of technology. Abhay, that's very, very broad. I mean, it's not really about usage of technology. It's about a theory of technology. The author is talking about the critical theory of technology. So the author analyzes technology and says that, oh, it's an environment. Okay. It imposes a social order. Okay, like other aspects in the society. It shapes human society. Okay, it shapes human nature. It is similar to laws and customs. So the author is basically analyzing technology very deeply and giving you a theory about it. Okay, connected to human nature, connected to society, connected to social order. All right. Definitely go back and confirm each and every claim, okay, because this is a inference question and it's a broad inference question. Why is it a broad inference question? Because this inference can come from anywhere in the RC, right? So that's what I'm saying. The questions typically in complex passages are simpler, but they've given you a broad inference question, which usually is quite time consuming. You have to go back and check each claim, and it can come from anywhere in the passage. Okay, I'll give you 10 more seconds, okay? Just in the interest of time. All right, ending the poll now. Okay, perfect. So let's look at how you voted. I think you can see that as well on your screen. It's very split, okay, and it's expected. This question is tricky. 41% of you are saying number two. This is your first choice. Okay. 37% of you are saying one. This is your second choice. It's very, very close. Okay. 13% is saying four, third choice, and 6% is saying three, which is fourth choice. Let's look at it. Now focus your attention on the screen. See how I solve this question and pick up some tips from there. When it comes to questions, I always tell my students, read them like a kid. See, passage, you do effective reading, extract the main idea, be broad, all of that. But when it comes to questions, slow down, read each and every word of the question, read each and every word of the options like a child would do. Because this is where the question setter would trick you. One word can change the question. Okay? All right. All of the following claims can be inferred from the passage except. It's an except question. First, read it without except. All of the following claims can be inferred from the passage. That means all four can be inferred except. So 4 minus 1 equal to 3. You have to point out this one. The one that cannot be inferred. Isn't it? It's an except question. So we have to look for the option that cannot be inferred from the passage. Let's look at 1. Technologies seek to privilege certain dimensions of human nature at a high cost to lived nature. Now, this should give you a trigger. Where did we read this about? It should give you a trigger. If you've read the passage effectively, you'll have some sort of trigger in your head that, okay, I've read about this somewhere, maybe in the 4th paragraph or the 5th paragraph. Okay, so let's go back and look at it. Technologies seek to privilege certain dimensions of human nature at a high cost to lived nature. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to clear this. All right, it's in this paragraph, right? Okay, it says, now read this. This is comparable to laws and customs. This is where the author is comparing technology to laws and customs. Each of these institutions can be said to represent those who live under their sway through privileging certain dimensions of their human nature. So each of this institution, which institutions? Okay, customs, laws, and technologies, right? Now, laws of property privileges ownership and control. Parental authority is about childhood safety and growth. Automobile, which is a technology, it talks about mobility. So it says each of these institutions privileges certain dimensions of their human nature. Okay, privileges certain dimensions of human nature. So each of these technologies or each of these institutions done that. Remember, it's calling technology, laws, and customs as institutions. And each institution privileges a certain dimension of human nature. Okay, what does the option talk about? The option talks about privileging certain dimensions of human nature at a certain cost. Is the paragraph or anywhere in the RC talking about cost? Let's go back. Sorry, I think I showed you the answer. Sorry about that. Technologies seek to privilege certain dimensions of human nature at a high cost to lived nature. It talks about the first aspect, but it doesn't talk about the second aspect. Where is the cost part? It privileges certain dimensions of human nature. We spoke about technology and mobility. But where is the cost part? The cost part is not there. Okay, so I've already shown you the answer. This is indeed the answer because you cannot infer the cost part. Okay, all right. But let's look at the number 2, number 3, and 4. Now, 2 was a popular choice. The significance of parental authority to children's safety does not therefore imply that parental authority is a permanent aspect of human nature. This was also being spoken about in the same paragraph. The example of that custom of parental authority. The significance of parental authority to children's safety does not imply that parental authority is a permanent aspect of human nature. Let's go back. Where does it talk about permanence of human nature? Of course, this is the paragraph that talks about parental authority. Where is the permanence bit being spoken about? Think about it. It says customs such as parental authority represent the interest of childhood and safety and growth. But is this permanent? Look at the next line of the next paragraph. This notion of representation does not imply an eternal human nature. What is eternal? Permanent. This notion of representation does not imply an eternal human nature. That means parental authority is not permanent, is what the author is saying. Right? So significance of parental authority to children's safety does not therefore imply that parental authority is a permanent aspect, which is what that line says. Okay, so you can infer this. Therefore, this is not our answer. We are looking for cannot or except. Okay. All right. Analysis of technology must engage with their social histories to be able to reveal their implicit and explicit meanings for us. This is given here, folks. Okay, it's given here. You can read it later. It's given there, so this is not an answer. The critical theory of technology argues that as issues of human rights become more prominent, we lose sight of the ways in which the social order becomes authoritarian. This is paragraph number 1. We extracted that main point also, isn't it? Okay, so this can be inferred. So hence the answer is 1 because we cannot infer this. All right. Now it's time consuming, this question, because you have to go back and check. All right. And it's fairly complex also. All right. Okay. Let's go to number 2. I'll run the poll. You can answer the poll. If you have any questions, Put them in chat. I'll come back to them. And don't forget to hit like, folks. If you're liking the session, finding it useful, please hit like. Sure, Pratik. I'll come back to it, okay? I'll come back to it. Thank you, Abhishek. Now, in this question also, it talks about a specific paragraph. This is what we call a specific inference question. Okay, so it's talking about the main argument, the main point of the fourth para. So you should go back, reread the fourth para, confirm your main point that you had extracted earlier, and then come back and answer the option. You should always have the main point of the paragraph ready before you look at the options. Options are designed to confuse you. Okay, so that's what we call a shadow answer. Shadow answer is an answer that we build in our head before even looking at the options. So wherever possible, build a shadow answer. Then look at the options and compare it. Okay, fantastic. I'll give you 20 more seconds. Okay, ending the poll now. All right. Now, awesome. So 54% of you have gone with one. Okay, so there is a more than half of you think that one is the right answer. Okay, so it's your first choice. 22% have gone with 2 and 3. Okay, so second and second, and 0% for 4. So no takers for 4. Of course, the tragedy will be 4 turns out to be the right answer, but 4 is not the right answer. Okay, that I can tell you. So you can breathe easy. So definitely the answer is between 1, 2, and 3. We'll see now. Okay, let's look at this. Which one of the following statements best reflects the main argument of the fourth paragraph of the passage? The question type is good because it's a specific type. You know, just focus on the fourth paragraph, extract the main point. It's less time consuming than the first question. But is the question tricky? Yes, it is tricky because options are tricky. All right, so let's look at it. We'll go back to the fourth paragraph. We'll extract the main point and then come back. Shadow answer. Okay, we're not looking at the options directly. Okay, as an environment, technologies shape their inhabitants. The author had already called technologies an environment. In this respect, they are comparable to laws and customs. Okay, Each of these institutions can be said to represent those who live under their sway. Under their sway means under their influence. Okay, through privileging certain dimensions of the human nature. So laws of property, customs, automobile, interests such as these constitute the version of human nature sanctioned by society. So what is the author doing in this paragraph? Think about it. The author is comparing technology to laws and customs, isn't it? Okay, and what aspect of technology? The aspect of it being an environment. So as an environment, tech is comparable to laws and customs is what the author is saying. Each of these institutions, the author is also calling them institutions. And what do these institutions do? Each of these institutions represent those who live under their influence through privileging certain dimensions of the human nature. So they are all connected to some part of human nature. Okay, and then the author goes on to explain those meanings to you by giving you examples. Now, why is fourth not the correct answer? Because fourth talks about this part, which is just an additional point. Remember, the question is asking you to extract the main point. Fourth option is an additional point. Although it aligns with the paragraph, it is correct for the paragraph, but that's not the main point. That's why we're ruling out 4, and you did that. So good. Now let's go back and try to solve the question. I'll try not to give you the answer. I click and then suddenly the answer comes in. Okay, let's look at it. This was your first choice. Technological environments privilege certain dimensions of human nature. Yeah, correct. Always break up options, okay? Longer options, break them up. Technological environments privilege certain dimensions of human nature. Is this correct for the passage? Yes, it is. Let's look at the second part. As effectively as laws and customs. Okay. Now the author is comparing technology with laws and customs. Does it say that they privilege certain dimensions of human nature as effectively as laws and customs? Is it comparing the effectiveness anywhere? Is it comparing the effectiveness anywhere? It's saying it's comparable. It says that both of them privilege certain dimensions of their human nature, but does it say they privilege it equally? The effectiveness is equal between tech and laws and customs? Where does the author say that? Tell me in chat. The author doesn't say that. The author doesn't compare the effectiveness. The author just simply says both of these institutions, tech and laws and customs, both do that. But it doesn't say that they are equally effective. Okay? Now you see how they try to trick you. The first part is very tempting, but break it up. The second part is not aligned with the passage. This can't be your answer because it has a flaw. The moment it has a flaw, you have to eliminate it. It's not aligned with the passage. Okay? All right. Now, this is also gone. This is also gone. Put your questions. I'll come back to it. All right? Okay. Let's look at this. Number 3. Technology, laws and customs are comparable but dissimilar phenomena. Okay? Number 2 says technology, laws and customs are not unlike each other if considered as institutions. What is the main point of the paragraph? Is the author saying they are similar or they are dissimilar? What is the main point? I'll wait for your answer. Is the author saying they are similar or is the author saying they are dissimilar? No, Pratik, comparable doesn't infer to being effective. Comparable simply means you can compare them. There's no indication of effectiveness there. Okay, Sridhar says similar. What about others? Isaac says similar. What about others? Come on. Folks, keep interacting with me. Similar, right? That's the whole point of that paragraph. So now between 2 and 3, what do you think is a better option? 3 says technology, laws and customs are comparable but dissimilar phenomena. The author is not saying that. The author is saying they're not unlike each other. Not unlike means like. If considered as institutions. The author is also calling them institutions. So between 2 and 3, 3 has a flaw. The only option left is 2. Is this the perfect answer? No. Absolutely no. It's not the perfect answer. But then get rid of this habit of looking for perfect answers. You will seldom get a perfect answer. This is the best answer among the four because 1 and 3 have flaws. Okay, 4 has a problem. It talks about an additional point. 2 is the answer. Okay, so another tip that I can give you, and I always tell this to my students: stop looking for perfect is the enemy of good. Okay, they will not give you perfect answers because perfect is very, very evident. They'll try to trick you. So they give you vague answers. But 1 and 3 has a flaw, 4 has an additional point problem, remaining is 2. Okay, not an easy question, by the way. So don't beat yourself up if you didn't get it right. Okay, but learn from it. Okay, let's go to number 3. Sorry, did I show you the answer? Okay, perfect. Let's go to number 3. Pratik, I'll come back to your question 1. Okay, just have to be watchful of time as well. Okay, read the question. I'll run the poll. Settling for good enough. Ankita, correct, correct. That's what you have to do. You have to pick the best option out of the 4. Okay, it will seldom be perfect. So stop looking for that in VRC. Okay, of course, in Quant we have perfect answers, in DLR we have perfect answers, in VRC we don't. And that's the complicated part of VRC, isn't it? And also the interesting part. Yeah, this question is also tricky. It's not an easy question, but try it and then I'll explain it. Okay, I'll give you 20 more seconds. All right, closing the poll now. All right. Now, as you can see from the vote, it is a tricky question. Okay. Whenever there's a split vote like this, that means you found it tricky. You folks seem to be confused between 1 and 2. Okay. Let's look at that. So 37% of you went with 1. Okay. 37% of you went with 2 also. Okay. 14% went with 3. I'll just say 3 here because we're skipping 2. And 11% went with 4. All right. So this is how you voted. Let's look at it. It's a tricky question. Please focus on the screen. Which one of the following statements contradicts the arguments of the passage? I hope everyone read contradicts. Okay. See, they are not going to capitalize all keywords in the questions. Except was capitalized, contradicts was not. Okay. So you have to read it like a kid. Which one of the following statements contradicts the arguments of the passage? That means 3 will not contradict. Or you can say will align with the passage. 1 will contradict. Your job is to pick the one that does not your job is to pick the one which contradicts. All right. Okay. Number 1, Marx's understanding of the capitalist rationalization of production and Marcus's understanding of a project of technological rationality share theoretical inclinations. Understand this option. Try to simplify it. This option is saying that Marx's understanding of the capitalist rationalization of production and Marcus's understanding of a project of technological rationality are similar. Simplified. Right? That's what the option is saying. So now you have to check with the passage. Does the passage say they are similar or does the passage say they are dissimilar? If the passage says they are dissimilar, then it's the answer. If the passage says they are similar, then it's not the answer. So let's now compare Marx and Marcus. Okay. Now, both are being spoken about in the second paragraph. So you have to read the second paragraph. Marx attributed this trajectory to the capitalized rationalization of production. What trajectory? The foreground human rights, background authoritarian social order. Today it marks many institutions. Okay, so it's everywhere. This trajectory arose from the problems that we know. Okay, technological design and development is shaped by this pattern as the material base of a distinctive social order. Marcus would later point to a project as the basis of what he called, rather confusingly, technological rationality. Releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. Now, try to understand this. Okay. Marcus is saying would later point to a project as the basis of what he called, rather confusingly, technological rationality. The last sentence is important. Releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. Okay. Does the author have a positive or a negative view of technology? Think about this. Till now, the author seems to have a negative view. Because the author talks about the foreground, background, attributes the trajectory to capitalist rationalization of production. Okay, this also is negative in the author's mind. All right. Now, this part, Marcus would later point to a project until here. Does this have a negative connotation or a positive connotation? I'm going to ask you this question again. Okay, I'm talking about this part. Marcus's view till here, technological rationality. Is this also negative? We know that the capitalized rationalization of production is negative. Marcus's view is also negative or positive? Look at the last line and decide. Karan, think about it. The last line says releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. From this project. The author is saying we will have to release technology from this project. Which project? The project that Marcus is speaking about. So if you have to release technology from this project, is this project negative or positive? If you have to release technology from this project, is this project negative or positive? folks, I want you to think about it. Marcus's technological rationality, the author is saying releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. So if you're releasing technology from this project, is this project positive or negative? Think about it. If you have to release technology from there, no. Okay, think about this, folks. It's a little complicated. You'll have to go back and reread. Okay. Releasing technology from this project is a democratic political task. If you have to release technology from a project, then the project will be negative, right? Otherwise, why would the author say release it from there? It's caged. The author is saying release it. So project also has a negative connotation. Marx's capitalized rationalization of production also has a negative connotation. Both are negative. So therefore, you can infer that they share theoretical inclinations. It's very tricky. It's very tricky. This is I think out of all the 4 questions, this is the most difficult one. Okay. So this doesn't contradict actually. This is in line with the paragraph. So this is not your answer. Okay. Let's go to number 2. Masses are organized in patterns set by Foucault's presence and Habermas's public sphere. Masses are organized in patterns. Is that what the passage says? Does the passage say that masses are organized in patterns? This trajectory arose from the problems of command over a disempowered and de-skilled labor force. But everywhere that masses are organized, the same pattern prevails. The same pattern prevails everywhere where masses are organized. Read the option. Masses are organized in patterns. This basically option means that they're intentionally organized in patterns. Is that correct? Are masses intentionally organized in patterns, or the pattern just happens to prevail everywhere masses are organized? Think about it. This option gives you the impression that masses are intentionally organized in patterns. But the RC says everywhere where masses are, this pattern prevails. There is a difference. Okay, so this actually contradicts. This is the answer. All right, let's go to number 3. Paradoxically, the capitalized rationalization of production is a mark of so-called socialist systems as well. This is correct for the passage. The passage tells you that socialist systems also, which are usually considered to be positive, are similar to this. Today, it marks many institutions besides the factory in every modern political system, including so-called socialist systems. So the capitalized rationalization of production is a mark of socialist systems as well. Paradoxically means contradiction. Okay. The problems of command over a disempowered, this is given in the first paragraph. Okay, or second paragraph. Where does it arise from? So this also doesn't contradict. The answer is definitely 2. Okay. All right. It's tricky, folks. It's very tricky. Don't beat yourself up for question 3 as well. Out of these 4 questions, question 3 was the most complex. All right. But in the interest of time, I'm going to move on and we'll look at question 4. We have to do one more RC. Okay. Let me run the poll. I'll give you a hint for this question, okay? Focus on the main idea. Keep the main idea in mind, okay? And then answer the question. Anjali, you can vote in the poll. Don't give the answer in chat. I'll end the poll in 20 seconds. Okay, ending the poll now. All right. Now, okay, so there's an overwhelming majority in this case, okay? The highest in all your questions. 76% of you have gone with 2. Okay, so if this is correct, that means it's an indicator that you found this question manageable, if it's correct. Okay, so this is your first choice. 13% has gone with 3. 10% has gone with 1, and no takers for 4. Okay? Okay, let's look at this. Which one of the following statements could be inferred as supporting the arguments of the passage? So that means one option supports the arguments of the passage, 3 options don't support. All right? Okay, let's look at 1. The romantic conception of nature referred to by the passage is the one that requires theoretical legitimacy. The romantic conception is being spoken about in the last paragraph, isn't it? Okay, so it says is the one that requires theoretical legitimacy. Does the passage say that? Can we infer that? It says we can perhaps admit a less romantic conception in which those dimensions of human nature recognized by society are also granted theoretical legitimacy. Okay, it says we can admit and they are also granted, but does this mean it requires theoretical legitimacy? Granted and required are different, isn't it? Okay, so the granted part is different. Here the option is turning it, completely changing it. It doesn't require. Granted is different. Okay, so this is not supporting the arguments. Technologies form the environmental context. This is correct. This is the main idea. And shape the contours of human society. This is the main idea, isn't it? The technology is an environment and it shapes human nature. It shapes society. That is the main idea. So this is, can you infer this as supporting the arguments? Definitely. Okay, it shapes the contours of human society. So this is, let's park this. This looks like the right answer. It is not human nature, but human culture that is represented by institutions such as law and custom. This is wrong. If you go back and read that paragraph, it doesn't talk about culture at all. It talks about human nature. It doesn't talk about human culture. You can go back and reread it. Okay. The option is unnecessarily confusing you. Nature decides the point at which society loses its capacity to control history. This, if you reread the last paragraph, it will be clear that you can't infer this. The answer is number 2. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. So, folks, now very quickly, this passage was complex. Okay. Now, hear me out. In this situation, as I said, this was arguably the most complex passage in CAT 22. Now, what happens if you encounter this in the exam? And I'll tell you how to approach this. See, typically most people will do 3 RCs and do a good job with probability. As I said, with that you can reach 95 plus, 97 plus, you can reach that. There are some people who read 4 RCs as well, but that's rare, depending on the reading speed. Now, if you're somebody who's attempting 2 or 3 RCs in the exam, when you read this passage, okay, don't give up in the first paragraph. Never give up a passage in the first paragraph, because sometimes the main idea emerges later. So read the first paragraph, read the second paragraph, okay. When you're somewhere near the 50% part of the RC, let's say you've covered 40%. Now here, you've covered 40% of the RC. You read a few more lines here. You would have covered 50%. When you're somewhere close to the 50% mark of the RC and it's not making any sense, then you leave the RC. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is because the main idea often emerges later. So you can't give up in the first few lines. Read the first couple of paragraphs. And then if it's not making any sense, you're like, no, this is very complicated. It's abstract. Also remember, this is abstract content. What is abstract? It talks about an idea. Critical theory of technology. Okay, it talks about an idea. As opposed to, let's say, the automated robots passage that appeared in 21. That's concrete. Abstract passages tend to be complex. So read the first couple of paragraphs. If it's not making any sense, leave it, go to the next RC. Okay. Now, unfortunately, if another RC is even more complicated, you'll have to come back. But typically it won't happen. Like in this case, the other 3 RCs were much more manageable than this one. Okay. So that's what you have to do. And if you're attempting it, let's say if you decide that I'm attempting this, then extract a broad main idea and attempt the questions that are manageable. Don't force yourself to attempt all questions just because you've read an RC. Okay. Typically, one question will always be very difficult. So even if you've read the RC, doesn't mean you have to solve all the 4 questions. All right. Okay. Perfect. What is the ideal time to solve an RC? Ideal time, again, this differs from person to person. But if you can solve an RC with questions in 10 minutes, that's good. Less than 10 minutes is great. If you can do it in 12 minutes, that's decent. That's what it is. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let's go to the next paragraph. I know this one took long. The second RC is easier and is much more interesting. So you'll have fun with it. Okay. So don't worry. I wanted to get this out of the way. We'll do that one quickly. Okay. Please go to your document. Pranav will also send it here. There is a document in the YouTube video description. Click on that link and read the passage from there, not from the YouTube video. Okay. Read the passage. Once you're done, extract the main idea. In 2 to 3 sentences, send it to me or just type done. Once you're done, we'll start discussing the question. Okay, sorry folks, I got disconnected. My internet sometimes acts up. Can you confirm on chat if you can see me and hear me? Then we can start discussing the passage. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for confirming. Great. I think you folks are done with the passage, right? All right, fantastic. I think it got disconnected at the right time. Okay, some of you have sent the main ideas as well. That's good. How did you find the passage? This passage was interesting. I mean, I think it was interesting and much easier, much easier than the previous passage, right? Okay, we'll discuss the main idea later. So what we'll do is we'll go to questions, okay, and then if you need me to sort of explain the whole passage, I will explain the whole passage later. Okay, so let's go to the questions. Fantastic. I'm glad you found it manageable. Let me run the poll for the first question. Please vote, and we'll start discussing it. So we'll focus more on the questions than the passage, but towards the end, I'm happy to explain the RC in detail if somebody needs it. Super. Awesome. The votes are coming in quite fast. So I will end this poll in 10 seconds. All right, fantastic. Now look at the majority, right? You folks, this is the highest majority that we've seen in this session and in my classes also. It usually doesn't touch this figure. So 86% of you are saying that you are going with one. Okay, that's your first choice, overwhelmingly, and there are few takers for 3, 2, and 4. All right. So let's look at this. Which one of the following statements best describes what the passage is about? This is a main idea question, isn't it? Okay. Now, main idea, the tip that I always give you is that when you read every RC that you read, you should extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences in your head, or you write it down before you move to the questions. This is irrespective of whether there's a main idea question or not. Before you even look at the first question, you should have the main idea ready in your head. So you should always have the main idea, and then if there's a main idea question, you answer it. But make sure the main idea is ready in your head before you go to the options, because the options will confuse you. Now, this passage clearly talks about what the perception or theory of the undead people was in primitive times and what is the perception of undead people now in modern times. Isn't it? It talks about their theory. It says in the primitive times, they were sort of perceived in a certain way. It was very vague. It was just sounds coming from a distance, or it was some sort of vague shape. And as humanity evolved, this theory of undead also evolved. Right? It became more concrete as we moved on. Right? That's what the author is talking about. Okay. So look at number 1. The passage discusses the evolution of theories of the undead from primitive thinking to the age of enlightenment? Definitely. Okay, it is about the theories of undead, and it is about the evolution from primitive thinking to age of enlightenment. This is a very good answer. Let's look at number 2. The passage describes the failure of human beings to fully comprehend their environment. Where is undead? Isn't that the main point of the paragraph of the RC? When you're extracting the main idea, if you can't extract sentences, extract keywords. Isn't undead the most important keyword in this RC? Where is undead here? I mean, doesn't have to say the word undead, but nothing related to undead is there in 2. Can't be the answer. The writer discusses the transition from primitive thinking to the age of enlightenment. This is very generic. Is the RC talking about transition from primitive thinking to the age of enlightenment in general? No, it is talking about specifically about undead. And then comes primitive thinking to enlightenment. This is too generic to be the main idea. That is not what the RC is about. The writer describes the ways in which the undead come to be associated with shamans and the practice of magic. This is an additional point. We are looking at a main idea question. This can't be the answer. Okay, well done, folks. Okay, the folks who got it right. Now, the folks who got it wrong, please understand why you got it wrong and then learn from it. Okay, we are all in the learning phase, so it's okay. All right. Okay, let's go to number 2. Good job, Abhay. It's a specific inference question. It's a great question. It's a specific sentence. Go back to the RC. Don't just focus on that sentence. Sentences before, sentences after. Understand it and then answer the question. And while you're at it, please hit the like button if you're enjoying the session. We're going to do these sessions every week. Okay. And I'll cover the whole of 22. Somebody was asking me to cover parajumbles or parasummary. I will be covering that. Okay. So the order of these sessions is once I complete RCs, slot 1 is done. We'll do slot 2. That'll be 2 sessions of slot 3. Then I'll go to parajumble or parasummary, then para completion, and so on and so forth. So I'll complete everything. It should take about 2 months because it happens every week, right? Sridhar, stay back after class. Okay, stay back after the session. I'll explain it in the interest of time. Also, Pratik, you had a question with the previous RC. Stay back. Whoever has a question about the previous question, stay back. I'll explain it. Okay, folks, I'll end the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, ending the poll. Yeah, thank you, Sneha, for mentioning that. Yes, correct, Sridhar. So Sneha is correct. It was just an additional point. Okay, not the main point, and that's why it can't be the answer. All right, thanks, Sneha. All right, let's look at this. In order to confirm their abnormal status, many of the undead were often accorded attributes which defied the natural order of things. Which one of the following statement best expresses the claim made in the statement? So this question simply means which one of the following which one of the following best explains this statement? That's what it means. Okay, so go back, always with specific inference questions, go back and reread that line. Okay, yeah, all right, so here it is. So read the whole paragraph, not just the line, to get the context quickly. You can scan through it because you've already read it before. Now, to confirm their abnormal status, many of the undead were often accorded attributes which defied the natural order of things. So we consider undead to be abnormal, isn't it? And because we consider them to be abnormal, we accord them attributes. Accord, that means we give them attributes. We give them attributes that defy the natural order of things. We give them unnatural attributes. Why? Because we consider them abnormal. And what are these examples of unnatural attributes? The power to transform themselves into other shapes. Harry Potter had a character like that, right? Ability to sustain themselves by drinking human blood, vampires. And the ability to influence human minds across a distance. Okay, such powers described as supernatural only lent an added dimension to the terror that humans felt regarding them. So what does that statement mean? Okay, by the way, you folks voted like this. You can see the vote, right? First choice is this, and then fourth is your second choice, and then this is your third choice, and this is your fourth choice. Okay, so what did we do here? We considered the undead as abnormal, and hence we gave them attributes that were unnatural, that defied the natural order of things. That's what the statement means. Okay, let's look at one. The undead are defied in nature's order by giving them divine attributes. Are we giving divine attributes to undead? Divine is godly. The passage never says that we give divine attributes to undead. That is completely contradicting the passage. Okay, and undead are not defied in nature's order. This is distorting the statement completely. And divine is completely wrong. We consider them as abnormal. How can we give them godly attributes? This is wrong. According the undead, an abnormal status is to reject the natural order of things. Is this what the statement means? That we give the undead an abnormal status, and that means we are rejecting the natural order of things. It's distorting the statement. This is not the answer. Human beings conceptualize the undead as possessing abnormal features. Yes. We consider them abnormal, and hence we give them unnatural features. Okay, park this. Why? Because you haven't looked at 4. The natural attributes of the undead are rendered abnormal by changing their status. Is this what the statement means? Do undead have natural attributes? Is my question. Do undead have natural attributes? No. The option says the natural attributes of the undead are rendered abnormal by changing their status. No, the undead don't have natural attributes. Because we always conceptualize them as possessing abnormal features. So it's distorting it. The answer is 3. All right? Okay. Right. Let's move on. Okay, it's an interesting question type. If you've attended my previous sessions, you know what to do with this. Okay, but otherwise, try it and then I'll tell you. Correct. Alpha max. Perfect. Turn it on its head. Perfect. Double negative. Yes. Yes. Okay, folks, I'm ending the poll now. Yeah, Varsha, stay back and I'll explain it after the questions are done, okay? Okay. There's a split here, so you found this tricky, and it is tricky. Okay. Option 4 is 41%, so that's your first choice. Okay. Option 3 is 32%, that's your second choice. Option 1 is 16%, that's your third choice, and then option 2 is 9%, that's your fourth choice. Okay. So 3 and 4 are close. Okay. Let's look at it. Please understand this. This is a question type that has become quite increasingly popular in CAT. So you have to understand it. All of the following statements, if false, could be seen as being in accordance with the passage except. Now, this is crazy what they've done with this. They have false, they have except, they've confused you. Okay, so break this question down. All of the following statements, if false. Now, whenever there is a if false question, you should always turn it on its head and make it true. Okay, so always with this question, write in your notepad, otherwise you'll get confused. Now, what is, first of all, understand what the question is saying. False could be seen as being in accordance. So, false in accordance. I'm not even considering the except now. I'm breaking it down. False in accordance. In accordance means aligned with the passage, isn't it? Now you turn it on its head. I'm not even considering except. Except will come later. Make it true. When you're turning false to true, you'll have to change in accordance or aligned to not in accordance or not aligned. Correct? Alright? So first you do this. Always change the false to true and then change the other side also. So it's talking about true, not in accordance or not aligned. True meaning you can consider these options at face value. You don't have to do anything with these options. They are true. Consider it at face value. And we're looking for the option which is true. All of them are true, but it's not aligned with the passage. But there is an except here. What does this mean now? So all four options are true and they are not aligned except one. Again, I'm repeating, all four options are true and not aligned except one. So we have to pick this one. What does it mean? We have to pick the option which is true and aligned. Is this making sense? Understand this. First, turn it on its head. Make false true. Change the other side as well. Then, because there is an except, 4 minus 1 equal to 3, remember you're looking for 1. So 3 statements are true and not aligned. Correct. But one statement is true and aligned, and that is your answer. Is this clear? I'll wait for your answer on chat. This is important because last year they went ahead and confused everyone with this. They introduced additional layers. There were double negatives, triple negatives. It went to a crazy extent. You can expect the same in 23. So once you get used to these questions, you will never make a mistake. You just have to practice a ton of questions. Is this making sense, folks? Please tell me. I know you're tired, but stay with me. Okay, thank you for confirming Alpha Max. All right, so we're looking for true and aligned. Okay, all right. The undead remained vague and ill-defined even as mankind strove to understand the horror they inspired. Is this true for the passage? No. The undead became more and more defined, right? As the theory evolved into the age of enlightenment, the undead became more defined. So this is not true for the passage. We are looking for true and aligned. This is not our answer. Okay. The relationship between shamans and the undead was believed to be a strong and stable one. Was the relationship strong and stable, or was it tenuous? Tenuous means weak. And go back, there's another word there. There's another adjective there which clearly tells you the relationship was not stable. So this is not a line. This is not an answer. The growing sophistication of mankind meant that humans stopped believing in the undead. Did we stop believing in the undead in the age of enlightenment? Does the passage say that? Don't bring in your external beliefs. Does the passage say that? That as mankind became, sophisticated in the age of enlightenment, they stopped believing in the undead. This is not true for the passage. They still believed. The transition from the Middle Ages to the Age of Enlightenment saw new theories of the undead. Is this true? Yes. The theories evolved. There were new theories as we moved from primitive vampires, shape changing, all of that. Okay? So transition from the Middle Ages to the Age of Enlightenment saw new theories of the undead. This is aligned for the passage. Okay? So this is the answer. Make sense? So your first choice was correct. Please understand why second is not correct. Okay, third. The growing sophistication of mankind meant that humans stopped believing in undead. Does the RC say that mankind stopped believing in the undead? No. In fact, it clearly tells you, and as mankind became more sophisticated, leaving the gloom of their caves and forming themselves into recognizable communities, so the undead traveled with them, inhabiting their folklore just as they had in former times. So even in the age of enlightenment, even when we grew sophisticated, the undead stayed with us. But the theories changed. They took on more definite shapes. Some still remained vague and ill-defined, but as mankind strove to explain the horror, we gave them shapes. Okay? So therefore, Varsha, I'll repeat it at the end. Okay? Stay back. So therefore, alright, number 3 cannot be the answer. True aligned, the answer is 4. Okay, I hope this is okay. Stay back if this is not clear. Let's do question 4. Once you get a hang of that question type, how to decipher the question type, you will get the answer. So you just need to practice. The tip for this question is, one, it's a specific question. You'll have to go back and reread it. And this question, don't take it literally. Okay? It's not a literal statement. It's a metaphorical, figurative statement. So don't take it literally. You will get the answer wrong. This passage is spooky, right? It's fun. It's a fun passage. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. Especially after I was debating whether I should give you this first or technology, but then I said, okay, let's start with technology, right? And then we can end on a, hopefully a joyous note where you were able to answer some of these questions and have fun with the passage. And typically in CAT also this happens, right? They'll always throw one very difficult passage in the mix. Okay. Out of 4 passages, one will be very difficult, one will be difficult, 2 will be moderate to difficult. Typically, that's the pattern that they follow. Okay, I'll end the poll in 10 seconds. Zombie Nation, correct. If you're a fan of zombies and spooky stuff, horror, you would have loved this passage. Okay, I'm ending the poll now. All right. Now, 95% of you have gone with 2. Very nice. This is highest, as you can see. This is like crazy. I've never seen this. I mean, I've seen it very rarely. So if this is right, that means you found the question manageable. Okay. This is your first choice. Then there are some takers for the first option. Okay. No takers for 3 and 4. Okay. Which one of the following observations is a valid conclusion to draw from the statement? From out of the primal darkness of mankind's earliest years come whispers of eerie creatures not quite alive, or alive in a way which we can understand, yet not quite dead either. Okay, so first of all, with these questions, you go back and read the statement from the RC. Don't just rely on that statement; it will confuse. You will get the wrong option. Always read the context. Okay. Stories concerning the undead have always been with us. From out of the primal darkness of mankind's earliest years come whispers of eerie creatures not quite alive, or alive in a way which we can understand, yet not quite dead either. These may have been ancient and primitive deities, blah, 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 and then it gives you examples. What does this statement mean? It starts with saying stories concerning the undead have always been with us. From out of the primal darkness of mankind's earliest years come whispers of eerie creatures. Now, think about it. Literally, if you take this statement, does this statement mean that we can still hear the whispers from mankind's earliest years? Think about it. Literally think about it. Can you hear the whispers from mankind's earliest years? Is that what the statement means? No. It doesn't mean that literally. It means that metaphorically. And the first statement, that is not a part of the question. Stories concerning the undead have always been with us. That is the answer. That means the undead have always been with us. They've been with us from primitive times. That's what the statement is saying. Eerie means spooky. Whispers of eerie creatures is indicating that they've existed, okay, for a very long time. So there are no literal whispers here. All right? Okay, let's go back. Mankind's primal years were marked by creatures alive with eerie whispers, but seen only in the darkness. Is that the point of the statement? Is that the point of the statement? That our primal years were marked by creatures alive with eerie whispers. Were there whispers eerie? Literally, no. The point of the statement is that they've existed always for a very long time. Look at number 2. Mankind's early years were marked by a belief in the existence of eerie creatures that were neither quite alive nor dead. This covers undead very well as well. Okay, so this is definitely the answer. This can't be the answer because of this, and this is distorting the statement. Okay, so existence of eerie creatures that were neither quite alive nor dead. That whispers is not literal. Okay, so the answer is number 2. Level of difficulty, Varsha, is moderate. All right. Okay. Perfect. Now, great. Now, please hit the like button if you enjoyed this session. I'm not ending it yet. I have some other things to share with you as well apart from this. If you're considering joining a 2IM course, or if you're looking for a course, We're running a discount window till Monday, which is 12 June. You can get a 4,000 off on all our courses, full courses, live as well as self-paced. Okay, so call us up on that number. The number is there on the screen, or you can email us info@2am.com. Call us up. You can sign up for a free demo session, see how we teach in an actual batch, or you can even talk to our academic counselors and they will just in general counsel you about CAT. And if you want to join the course, you join. All right. So make use of this offer. And now I will go back to answering questions. Okay. In chat, tell me what questions do you want me to repeat from the questions that we've discussed. Karun, level is moderate. The first one is very difficult. Technology. Undead is moderate. Okay. And this is passage plus questions. Okay. Tell me now which questions do you want me to cover? I'm happy to stay back. Others, you feel free to dial out. Any questions that you want me to cover? I think Pratik has left. But Pratik is my student, so I can talk to him later. Varsha, you had some questions? Let me know. Oh, Alpha Max, the chat is quite delayed on YouTube. Very annoying. So that's why I have to keep watching. So I have the stream open on another window. I have to keep watching my gestures. It's quite annoying. It's delayed by the chat is not delayed, but the stream is delayed by like I think 20 seconds. Sindhu, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, looks like you folks don't have any questions, so that's good. That's good. If you have any questions, you can always put them in the comments. Okay, this video will be there on YouTube, so you can put them in comments, and I monitor them very carefully. So I will get back to you as soon as possible on the questions. Okay, darkness was not literal either, right? That's my question. Okay, Alpha Max is asking that question. From out of the primal darkness of mankind's earliest years. Yeah, that's also not literal. You're right. Yeah, that's also not literal. It basically darkness there indicates again, you know, we're talking about undead, right? So there is a spooky element there. Darkness refers to that. Okay, so definitely not literal. That also is metaphorical, saying that you know how earliest years had sort of you know these spooky creatures, these eerie creatures, and stuff like that. So definitely not literal. Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right, folks. You can type in your comments. Let me know being unable to understand things. No, I don't think it means that. I don't think it means that. See, it says primal darkness of mankind's earliest years. Primal means very, very sort of in the early stages. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, they're saying being unable to understand things, maybe that alpha, maybe that, I'm sorry, I'm calling you alpha, but that's your ID. Maybe that's what it means, but it basically means that look at the broader understanding of the statement, don't fixate on words, that undead have existed with us for a very long time. They were there in the ancient times as well. That's what the statement means. Thank you, Vaibhav. Karun, we do this every Friday at 8 p.m. Okay, so subscribe to our channel. You'll get the notification every Friday at 8 p.m. Sir, what option 2 is not correct for the previous question? Passage 2. Which question are you talking about? Varsha, which question is this one? Question 3. Okay, Alpha Max. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can be anonymous. You can DM me and tell me. Oh no, no, but don't tell me. Otherwise, I'll end up blurting out your name. Okay. Question 2, I think. Okay, I hope this is the one. All right. In order to confirm their abnormal status, many of the undead were often accorded attributes which defied the natural order of things. Okay. See, the statement means that in order to confirm their abnormal status, that means the undead's abnormal status. Hemant Paliwal, I think I got the answer. Undead's abnormal status. Okay. Varsha, just hear me out. So in order to confirm their abnormal status, that means the undead's abnormal status. Many of the undead were often accorded attributes which defied the natural order of things. We considered the undead as abnormal. And hence, we used to give them attributes, characteristics that defied the natural order of things. So if they defy natural order, that means they were unnatural. So again, I'm repeating it. What this means is, we consider the undead as abnormal, and hence we accorded them unnatural attributes. Okay, and that's what the statement explains as well. It gives you examples, isn't it? One second, I'm just trying to look for it. Where is it? Yeah, okay. The power to transform themselves into other shapes, the ability to sustain themselves by drinking human blood. These are all unnatural attributes that we gave the undead because we considered them abnormal. That's what the statement means. Now, that's why number 3 is correct. Human beings conceptualize the undead as possessing abnormal features. Your question is, why isn't 2 correct? According the undead and abnormal status is to reject the natural order of things. Is that what it means, Varsha? Think you're saying question 2. I'm on question 2, Varsha. I am on question 2 right now. Okay, I'm not sure, Varsha, which one, and there's a lot of lag on this, but since I'm talking about this, I'll finish explaining this, then please drop in a comment, or if you're my student, you can message on the student group, drop in a comment and I'll get back to you. Okay, so here it says, according the undead and abnormal status is to reject the natural order of things. This is twisting the interpretation of that statement. Yes, we are according the undead and abnormal status. But because we are according them an abnormal status, doesn't mean that we are rejecting the natural order of things. That's not what the statement means. The statement means that we accord undead an abnormal status, and hence we give them unnatural attributes. Okay, so 2 doesn't even talk about unnatural attributes, which is an important part of that statement. So that is missing, and it's also distorting the statement. Hence, this is not the answer. The correct answer is 3. Okay, all right. I hope this is clear. Otherwise, Varsha, drop in a comment. I'll get back to you. All right, people. I hope you had fun. I'll see you next week, Friday 8 p.m. for the next session. And go through the passages in advance and come prepared. All right. Good night. Have a nice weekend.